Hey there folks, welcome back to The Mayor. If you're a fan of animated adventures, you're in the right spot. Today we're digging into the latest episode of Fionna and Cake, episode 9. So, if you're a fan of animation, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Before I start this video, there is spoilers of episode 9 of Fionna and Cake. You have been warned. Episode 9 of Fionna and Cake begins with Fionna and Cake seemingly waking up in Fionna's world. At first glance, it appears to be returned to the familiar setting they've known. But things take a peculiar turn. Fionna and Cake soon notice something is really wrong, as they see the mutant Gary, and similarly, Marshall Lee, the Vampire King, has experienced a dramatic and unusual alteration. Instead of being a pseudo vampire who usually thrives in the night, this version of Marshall Lee bursts into flames when exposed to sunlight. And then they see LSP, who is experiencing a nightmare scenario. He's being ripped apart and her insides are spaghetti. As Fionna and Cake run inside to her apartment in terror, they open the freezer, only to see Simon's body inside the freezer. Simon's head turns 180 degrees and looks at them and says, "Are you happy now, Fionna?" And then Fionna wakes up, screaming, as she realizes it's a dream. Fionna suddenly realizes Fionna and Cake had the same dream, so they wander around. When they're exploring again, they encounter Gary and Marshall Lee, two characters who have undergone a significant transformation in this distorted version of their world. Fionna and Cake are both astonished how delighted to discover that Gary and Marshall Lee are now a couple in the alternate reality. Fionna recognizes the need to communicate the gravity of the situation to their friends. She explains to Gary and Marshall Lee that their world exists within Simon's mind, and the magical transformation in the horizon. Initially, met with skepticism, their friends struggle to grasp the concept of the reality being shaped by Simon's thoughts. Cake, on the other hand, decides to take the more direct approach to convince their friends. Cake suddenly shows herself with her magical powers. Then we cut back to the Simon's part of the story. In this surreal and nightmarish void, Simon finds himself surrounded by nothing but enormous cubic shapes and reminiscent of Tetris blocks. These shapes, which defy the laws of reality, stretch endlessly into the abyss, creating an unsettling and disorienting environment. As Simon navigates this perplexing realm, his attention is drawn to one of the Tetris blocks, where a familiar yet dread-inducing presence resides. It's none other than the Lich, the embodiment of chaos and destruction, who appears to be trapped in the strange dimension alongside Simon, probably because the portal opened and the Lich's eyes were red. He must have traveled with them to see Gulp himself. The Lich that mumbles and prays with an air of frustration and sorrow. It becomes more apparent that the Lich is plagued by a sense of unfulfillment, a profound disappointment that he didn't achieve, satisfaction he sought by annihilating everyone in his universe. Suddenly, an eruption of rage and bitterness consumes the Lich. Suddenly hits the ground with a hard smash. In a shocking twist, the very ground beneath them trembles and shifts, and from the depths of the abyss, a monstrous and otherworldly fusion emerges. Gulp Betty fusion. Simon's shocked to see the Betty Gulp fusion again. The Lich, on the other hand, seething with anger and confusion, demands to know what more Gulp could possibly want from him. His eyes, burning with an eerie greenish fire, reflect the intensity of his emotions, and grapples with the enigmatic presence of Gulp/Betty. The Lich's very existence seems to tremble with frustration and defiance. Suddenly, Gulp Betty's eyes are fixated on the Lich. Suddenly, the eyes start twitching, and a strange and otherworldly transformation begins to unfold. The Lich's bones, once his source of power and malevolence, are set into motion, swirling around him like a nightmarish tornado. The sheer force and velocity of this bizarre phenomenon tears the Lich's skeletal form apart, causing its bone to disassemble and scatter in all directions. Skull is in the center, but even in the center core of his being undergoes a transformation, as it morphs in one of the Tetris block shapes that dominate the peculiar landscape of this dimension. Suddenly, Simon feels himself alone with Betty and Gulp fusion. Simon's heartfelt words flow with sincerity as he expresses his profound regret. Simon says, "Betty, I really tried to fix you, but I failed." He keeps apologizing over and over again. Finally, Simon starts to smile again. Simon explains why he wants to wear the crown again. He explains that Fionna and Cake deserve a second chance too, in an opportunity to make the better for the use of the power that the crown bestows. He conveys the belief that among all people, Betty would understand the significance of his mission. However, as Simon reaches for the crown, intent on taking the first step toward making his plan a reality, He suddenly sends shockwaves to Simon, freezing him in place. The episode cuts to Shermie and Beth. Now we normally know that Beth and Shermie's timeline stands thousands of years after the enchanting adventures of Land of Oo. In this distant era, we find Beth and Shermie, who seem to have taken a rather rebellious hobby. They are in the process of vandalizing a city inhabited by cyborg pups, painting a graffiti all over town. Some guards shoot at them and they escape. The situation takes an unexpected turn as Shermie begins to act peculiar, unknown to anyone. When Gold Betty unleashed her powerful energy upon Simon, their minds were mysteriously swapped. Now with Simon's consciousness residing in Shermie's body, navigating this perplexing future world. Confusion and frustration washes over Simon as he tries to make sense of these new surroundings. He directs his eerie and bewilderment at Gold Betty, questioning why he was sent to this distant future and placed in the body of a young child, Shermie, who was standing behind him. Observes Shermie's strange behavior and interprets the situation entirely. She believes that Shermie is merely acting out, displaying childish behavior. Beth thinks Shermie is trying to get out of library study. Simon, who hears the word library, gets excited suddenly. Despite the challenging circumstances, he harbors excitement deep within him. He thinks he can find a book about the crown that can save him from this situation. Back in the void, Betty looms over Simon, who remains frozen in his tracks, unable to move or muscle. In an eerie scene, as vast emptiness stretches endlessly in every direction, Simon's voice, however, carries through the dimension, speaking words that resonate that urgency, even though he's another realm entirely. His words, presumably directed toward Beth in her world, echo through the void. Meanwhile, on one of the Tetris-like pieces, within this abstract expanse, lies the scarab that had inadvertently fallen alongside Simon during the earlier tumultuous events. Wakes up and looks over to Simon, who is on a piece as well. Suddenly, he sees the Beth and Gold fusion. However, the scarab is not scared of Gold Betty fusion. Instead, confidence says stay out of this, indicating that he believes he can manipulate the situation to his advantage. The scarab prepares to wield his weapon, readying itself for a potential confrontation with Simon, who it perceives as helpless due to what presumes to be a spell malfunction. Just as the scarab is ready to attack, Eyes is fixated onto the scarab. She unleashes a devastating surge of energy in his direction. The intense energy blast surges toward, striking the scarab with incredible force. This energy does not kill him, however. It turns him into little bug creatures that are the size of dogs. Bugs try to escape this energy blast, as one of them enters Simon's portal behind his head. We cut back to Fionna and Cake's world. The atmosphere carries a surreal touch, as the sky above is adorned with clouds resembling the Tetris cubes we found in the perplexing void of gold. Amid this whimsical backdrop, Fionna and Cake, Gary, and Marshall Lee finds themselves gathered around the ice rink, and sitting on a bench. They shortly talk about Cake. He is magical. Explains that she was always this way, and now she is in her true form. Gary and Marshall Lee, as new acquaintances in this unfamiliar world, are eager to understand what lies ahead. Their curiosity leads them to pose a candid question. Will they continue to be a couple once the world is transformed by the crown's magic? Fionna, however, hesitates, unsure of what the future holds. The complexities of the situation weighs on her, as events surrounding Simon's action remains surely in a mystery. Cake even says in one of the universes they encountered, themselves was trying to kill each other, hinting at the vampire universe, where Princess Bubblegum and Marceline were trying to kill each other. Gary suddenly asks a question if they could make any requests to Simon. Fionna thinks that's a great idea and starts looking for blue portals all over town. They think they find a portal to a freezer that's outside. However, as the freezer contents are unveiled, it becomes clear that the unexpected twist awaits them. Portal they are waiting, the scarab bugs emerge. Fionna suddenly closes the door of the freezer, but all around town, where ice is present, the bugs come out. Then we suddenly cut back to Beth and Shermie. They finally arrive at the library they were seeking for. Simon, eager to seek answers and a way back to the world he knows, attempts to communicate with Beth, yet Beth, in a hushed tone, trusts Simon, emphasizing the need of silence. Their quest for knowledge leads them to the heart of the library, where towering shelves are stacked precariously. Books, perched atop of another in teetering tower of potential answers. Beth opens a portal within her stomach, a portal that Simon intuitively understands as an invitation to the journey to the highest reaches of the library's books. With agility, Simon leaps into the portal, finding himself at the top of the book stack, with a newfound perspective on their mission. As Simon eagerly delves into the reach of the books, detailing the secrets of the coveted crown, Beth reveals another facet of their quest, her desire for meditation books. Simon throws some books down, causing one of them to hit the ground hard, and noise emerges. Some creatures come to them, as Beth says their names are pagelings. These animated entities, visitors of this library, and want the books back. They steal the books and leave the library at once. Back at Fiona's world, Fionna and Cake trap the scarab bugs inside of Cake. Then they put them into jars inside of Fiona's apartment. Fionna is still trying to wait to try to contact Simon. Cake suddenly suggests that Simon has been entrusted with Fiona's phone, the very device that could help bridge between their worlds. Eager to seize this lifeline of communication, Fionna turns to Gary, who graciously offers his phone for his pivotal attempt. Fionna even knows Gary's password. Yet, unknown to Fionna, Simon remains trapped in Shermie's young and playful frame, unaware of the calls echoing through the dimension. We see Beth and Shermie trying to read the books under the tree. However, these books are far from the ones that Simon knows. The books have a gun-like structure below them. Beth steps in to lend a hand, trying to help Simon. The situation escalates as Simon tries to assert his knowledge and expertise, emphasizing his academic qualifications as an attempt to take control of the situation. He says he has taken courses before, and he knows how to read a book. But alas, Simon needs help and Beth helps him. The unfolding of narrative within the book centers around two characters, Casper and Noah, echoing the dynamic between Simon and Betty in their shared universes. The game is a clever reference to the relationship, hints at the tendency for one party to steer in the course, mirroring Simon's prediction for making decisions that align with his desires rather than Betty's. As Simon delves into the interactive tale, he consistently opts for Casper's route, a parallel to the choices that he made in real life. The simplicity of the script mirrors an accessible and engaging nature of the book/game. Like in Fionna and Cake's world, they try to enter a portal themselves trying to reach Simon. After they leave the apartment, LSP, who was sleeping under some blankets or sheets, suddenly awakes and sees the bugs in jars trapped. As she loves animals, she tries to help them and freeing them, but she doesn't know that it's a villain. We see some part of the apartment blow up, and Fionna and Cake see the scarab form, and the episode ends there. As we come to an end of this wild journey with Fionna and Cake, things are heating up. The scarab is back in action, and our heroes are in for a rollercoaster of excitement. Will they find Simon? What's the scarab's game plan? Stay tuned for the next episode. Please subscribe to see the new episode. And thank you for listening to me. See you next time. Signing out, the Mayor.